Bleh. Good morning, good morning, good morning, everyone. Hope you guys had a fantastic evening and a fantastic night's rest. Mine was all over the place. All over the place. So. Oh, my goodness. It was a long evening for sure. Oh, I see one thing I can fix right here. Alright. Yeah. Today, figure we'll just have some talks. Get some more work done on the books and everything. Obviously, need to go through stuff. I need to add in a part we're going to need to do here before the end. I might add that in during Inquisitive. Woofta. I've only been standing. I mean, I guess I've been standing for an hour before the stream, too. Yeah. Morning, Neldritch Dragoon. Morning, JoJo. Morning, JoJo the Argus, specifically. Morning, Breaking Benny. Shoofta. It is a day for sure. It is a day for sure. Excuse me. Honestly, don't know what we're gonna do. Like, hold on a second. Ugh. Shoofta. First I've ever heard of it, Benny. Okay. Let me change this. There's a thing here I gotta change already. I see it. So, I'm gonna come in here. We're gonna fix this. This is old stuff in chapter 2. There's a thing I needed to add, and I kept meaning to add it for the longest time. And the closer we get to the actual explosive confrontation, the more I'm like, I keep forgetting to add that. And then I'm reading through this again. I need to fix this. So. How much to bet none of the since left the paper trail. Okay. Functional. I'll get to the wild goose chase of searching for any notes and physical files. Alright, we're going to add it in here when they're at the control center. Pull these down. Oops. Too far. That's to say the least. Not just from the inside, but even before there was evidence outpost. The overhauls through actually drilling several things are found, especially with this fire suppressant system. Again, are you sure that that story's true? To begin with? There. Whew! Man. Suppression. Yeah, that makes more sense. More sense. Process. Placing the piping. Control center. Thus, be rare, but fine gas. Place without your input. In the more immediate sense, let's see. Bodies. A nightmare. All right. So replacing piping for the control center. Yep. Okay. Gonna have to make sure that was in. And it's gonna get called back upon here in the coming chapter. Because it's also trying to show the inefficiencies of the NDA system, right? The NDA has a great system for obfuscation and everything, but the problem with the system is that things filter down very sluggishly. It's not a well-oiled, tight machine, right? But it being so sporadic and scattered actually makes it far more robust of a system. So it's very difficult to take the NDA down or to get all the documentation and everything because there's so many barriers between everything. There's not like a central database that you can hack into. right? Well, there is a central database, but it's not one you can hack into. It's not connected to any outside networks or lines or anything. You physically have to be at the main headquarters of the NDA, right? Also, you're saying travel to Russia. Did they travel there? Or did they migrate to Russia? Okay, so again, mass conscription town. And did they travel to Russia? Or did they migrate there? And where did you get the story from? This may be. And now. Hopeful. Curious. See. More accurate. Okay. Should we call this one? Chapter 19. Okay, again, what sources? Because already that title is fucked. That is completely fucked. Chapter 19. Think of everything that happens in this chapter. So we have to talk with Monty. This is when Commander Lorcan's going to make his move. We need to discuss what Extract is doing. that guy that works for Extract is being called in. You know what? I've got it. I got it. Gambit. Okay, so again, he's not traveling there, so already you're wrong. By this own new headline, which again is still fucked, he lived in Russia. So he was a Russian, he wanted to become a Russian national. What if he wanted to go fight on the front line? Yeah, I'm thinking you've scuffed this. No, extract is with an X. Extract is definitely, and again, they did that as a rebranding. So it's just Extract. Captain Planet level corporation or some hippie shop selling essential oils to stay-at-home moms. No, they are a mining company. They're a mining company. They rebranded before they were bought out by this conglomerate. The conglomerate has now taken it private instead of being a publicly traded entity. And they've been cleaning up things. I remember back in chapter 1, I had already set up that Extract had some fucky wucky things happening. So, whoop. Only back in chapter 1. Doing a lot of thinking. Lately, those attacks, most of them are terrible. Some just feel right, you know? I know it's terrible to say, but like that one mining company, Extract or whatever their name was. I know those were people, and lass, it's fine. I agree with you. Some folks are too eager to do harm in the name of a cause. Those folk end up harming the very thing they claim to fight for. Extract, though. Nasty piece of works those lot were. Won't say I lose any sleep for those bastards. Not real charitable for a lawkeeper to say, but I hope it hurt. And again, I go into it more and more that Extract had what they had done in the area was they were poisoning the water supply to make people sick so that they could try to sweep in with their own like specialist teams to clean up the area and get more land and things like that. And what we're going to find out here in chapter 19 is that was not at the behest, and again, it was referenced in the chapter before this in Threads. That was not at the behest of the upper management. That was somebody in the middle tiers thinking that they were being clever and that the top brass would really like this. Maybe former Extract, perhaps, but not the one that's owned by the conglomerate now. Oh my goodness sakes. Yeah, so we're going to have Monty's section first. Man, why do I feel so... Like, I know this room is hot and disgusting already. Like, good God. I have both fans running full out. Just, ugh, gross. Okay, Benny, you already fell for the propaganda as was. And now, again, don't wish death on somebody just because they're fighting for something they believe in and you don't. Right? Like, sure, I think Russia are a bunch of fucking incompetent morons. But again, to say that, like, he's going to pass away, a moron. Like, fuck off with that. Also, all of your articles, again, are air quoting woke as if it's some fake thing. We know it's not. We know it's an actual fucking thing. We know the fucking agenda is real. No, I'm gonna sit down. I just feel. It just feels meh. Yeah, let's sit down. Oh. X-Cargo. Nice. That's actually kind of funny. Oh my god. That should be fine. Alright. This, at the bench, the spirit realm, staring on at the game finished for her. It was both completion, albeit minorly, of the game itself, and of the words spoken. Two dragons come to meet with. Into one, as if she weren't there for a time, only judgment. Our match had concluded. Essentially, what's happened is Mani, the silver dragoness of the moon, she comes to talk with Meraxis and meet with Severus. And both of them are currently in the middle of a chess match with each other. Again, Benny, that is not what it came off as. Literally, you were basically like finger wagging. Ha 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 ha, you win a Darwin Award. Ha ha. What'd you think was going to happen, moron? Like, it's wild you think that that's being sympathetic to a side at all. As the logo is a snail. I based it off a snail in California. I think it was called a lace tooth. Again, that would work on so many levels as well, Elder Shagoon. Like, if that company kind of got a reputation for taking their time on things, they're slow. That would be that'd be a lot of fun. I mean, there's so many things you could play with it. That could even be like anti X-Cargo like marketing campaigns, like showing a snail slowly walking along while any other corporation is just like walking as a person beside them and delivering the package quicker. That'd be fun. That'd be like fun thing to do. You could set that off as a like spin-off of things. Salt. I just spoke fine. It is past tense, so. Oh my god. Only join once. Only once. The words. Your mind. She played over and over again. Sitting. Casual nature there. I don't do conversation again. We've already done conversation in the previous sentence. Stood in stark. Oh, it's A, isn't it? Ah, it is A. Fuck. I hate when I do that. I spelled juxtaposition wrong. I put an O there instead of an A. Oh, hate. Other power. And the command. Which both are granted. The whole thing was taking old international cargo containers and turning them into high-quality container homes, refurbishing. Oh. They also focus on interior design for rental homes. Okay, you could still... I would still play off the whole snail thing, but do it like design-wise, right? Like, go back and forth between like a snail, slowly walking across blueprints and things like that. And meanwhile, you show another like corporation is like quickly putting things together and getting things situated and oriented and styled and stuff. Like, why waste your time when you're looking for a home right now? Everything is spirals. What? Nations only minorly corrupted. Her feathered came to sit at the table thereby and gave well, they said it would. Again, I want Brightbeak to continue being kind of like, you know, he's a little ditzy, but he's very loyal and he's very efficient in what he does, right? His only inefficiency is his mannerisms of speech. Let's change this to this. So you have. I'm currently pondering some things. Do you bring me news? Oh! Oh, fuck! Oh, fuck, I don't know if you guys heard that. That was a loud crack. Oh, holy cannoli. Holy cannoli. That was an incredibly loud crack. Ow. Yeah. Trying to think of some other stuff we should do. I don't know, I've become so self-conscious now for some reason. Like, I just feel so mad. It doesn't help that this room is hot and fucking sticky. Too much fucking humidity in this house. Oh. Thankfully, the noise gate on this, the gain on this microphone is low. So you don't have to worry about hearing the fans the entire fucking time. But yeah, these things going max out and it's just not helpful. Oh my god. This sucks. Oh, speaking of things that suck, I'm still waiting for the Dawn of War game. Look. You're releasing soon and you still don't have a price? That's so fucking weird to me. That's so weird to me. Like, why don't you have a price? You know? Very strange. Hey, Setch, today's map for Peak is easy if you'd be willing to play it again. I mean, we're going to play it with Pagan and Cree and them. But thank you for the $5, Itico. Did you ever decide what you wanted that to go towards now? Since you wanted to change it off of Ratchet and Clank? Which, again, you don't have to. But did you ever decide what you wanted this to go towards? I'm still going to put it towards Ratchet and Clank until you pick, and then we can just swap out the name. Sensible Chuckle, the sequel? Okay. So, What the Car, I believe, is the sequel. Let me double check that. Yeah, What the Car is a sequel. Okay. Alright, I'll change that. Oh, there's no exclamation part. Fuck, I thought there was. Nope, get rid of the exclamation mark. I think I have the poster on this PC. I made it back when I was trying to figure out how much room a container home renter would have, what the inside may look like. Put it under lit writing. Okay. Please do. Oh, fuck. On, he's still... Anyway, back. His words and gave a smile. Pause. He tapped. Time. That. One battle. Winner deserves happiness. That smile remain. Her face. As she to rise from the bench. At the aviary. Is now investigating the chessboard. It all depends. Hey, Pip Pip. I don't even know who the fuck Bosch is. Incorrect. There are boat homes, though. I guess if you had a yacht or something like that, sure, but... If I ever had money, I know what I would do. I would make a little like I'd buy a bunch of land out in the woods, right? A big old thing of land, much as I could get my hands on, and I would build like a little compound out there, and then set it up as like a wolf sanctuary. Which would probably mean I'd have to go towards southern Indiana. There's not a ton of forests in middle or northern Indiana. There are, but I mean it's in comparison, I should say, right? Southern Indiana has some massive forests. Forests that are the size of some countries. Actually, I wonder. Hold on. I'm going to check something real quick. Alright. Right. Okay. Oh, well, I'm not taking your little fucking islands. I don't give a shit. Okay, what's some other small countries? Hey, Montenegro? Let's do that. Oh yeah, nope. It's yeah, Montenegro is the one. About right there. I'll show you. Beep. So, Montenegro. You can kind of see it just with Bloomington, right? A big old splotch. It's a big, big fucking forest. It's a big forest. You can kind of tell, again, I'm looking at it like this, you can kind of see, these are more fields, right? These aren't really forests so much. But here, you've got a bunch of forests in southern Indiana. A bunch of them. And big ones. Back in the day, they wanted to name that general forested area in the U.S. Transylvania. Why? Let's do Luxembourg. Now I'm curious. Fuck. Why, when I did Lux, was that there? That's super fucking tiny. Holy shit. But I assume that's just a single island, right? Come here. Oh yeah. Look, even Bloomington's forest. Even Bloomington's forest is basically bigger than it. And by the way, if you've never seen the forest, like one of our biggest forests, hold on. Let's get to it. Yeah, let's go with the Hoosier National Forest. The Euro baby states, I know. Oh, here we go. Look at this shot. Fucking hell. I'm gonna switch over here in a second. I want to get some more shots to show you. Just again, the place is fucking huge. The forest is massive. It's over 200,000 acres of land, right? Just this park by itself, by the way. Just this one. It is enormous. And it is not the only park we have. But it's definitely one of the biggest ones. Oh, there's one. And we have all kinds of like, a lot of our parks have a bunch of like walking trails and things like that. So you can go to all kinds of neat things. There we go. Alright. These are things. Fucking gorgeous. Whoever took this picture. Whew. Well done. Absolutely gorgeous. It doesn't look like, you know what I mean? You just imagine that this is only a tiny fraction of the park itself, right? This is a park. Like, whew. Gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous. There's another view of it. And of course, down on the ground. Because that's the other thing about the park is it has a huge lake in it. Just an absolutely enormous lake. It's originally where I was going to set Crossroads, right? Crossroads was originally going to be in the Hoosier National Park outside Bloomington, which is why the city itself was like they were used to Ranger pickup trucks and SUVs and things like that driving around the town because they were so close to the park. Yeah, love it, love it, love it. If I can show you guys a map. Hold on a second. So you guys can see how fucking big this place is. No, fuck it. We'll just do. I know what we'll do. Hold on a second. Okay. So. Boop. Hey. You got Bloomington over here. And here's forest. Going into the forest. Going into the forest. Going into forest. Going into forest. Going into forest. Big. Big, big, big places. And as you can see. Again, it's not what you would think of as a typical lake shape, but yep, there's the lake. Which, fucking huge. Granted, it's not as big as the Great Lakes, but still, that's a big lake. That is a big, big lake. A lake shaped like a dragon? I mean, if we get very, very abstract. And then, of course, obviously, Great Lakes. Massive, basically, might as well be fucking inland oceans. The only reason they're called lakes is because they're, this is all fresh water. Actually, wait, is that true? Hold on. Am I wrong on that? Hold up. Oh, the Great Lakes are all freshwater. Okay. Phew, I was like, hold on a second. Like, is that accurate? Hehehe. Yeah. Yeah. Anyways. Sorry, I'm just reminiscing. I would love to, like, be in one of these parks. I really would. I think it would be quite enjoyable. Right. Back to what we were doing. And it. Yeah. We're playing this game. Oops. Learning. There. Talk. Many mundane and idle things. A curious statement stuck out to me from it. To win once. Yeah, we'll keep up the thing here. He tilted his head and looked at the board, the game, pieces set up in their final positions, and hopped closer and inspected them more thoroughly, or looking back up Silver Dragoness. What does that mean? Not sure. Oh, and so this part and settle in to matters at hand. All right. Yeah. I kind of want to leave the conversation to be a bit more mysterious, and then have it drip fed maybe a little bit more throughout other things, for why that statement, I only need to win once, is so important. Because it's actually it's a mirror statement for Zaramis versus Meraxis himself. Meraxis has to win every single battle that he fights with Zaramis. He has to. Zaramis only needs to win once. So, on the flip side, Meraxis and Severus, when they do their games, Severus wins every time, but as Meraxis says, Meraxis only has to win once. Doesn't matter if it turns out to be a fluke or not. He still won against Severus. And also, that puts an immense amount of pressure, right? When you realize that your opponent only has to win a single time to, like, throw off your perfect streak. So now you have to play at your maximal at all times, while your opponent can try riskier strategies or try odd things. You always have to be at your apex, no matter what. Doesn't matter if something distracts you, doesn't matter if you're not having a good day that time, or, you know, good millennia in terms of these more divine entities. Like, that doesn't matter. You need to be at your apex at all times. Your opponent doesn't have such a pressure or burden on them. SUV pulled into the parking garage beneath the building. There, the man knew his fate to be decided, and to add weight to that knowledge. Oh my God. You know, why am I sitting so far fucking back? Hold on. Ugh. Blah, 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 blah. Let's move in. Carefully. And with no sudden movements, he left. I always hit sub. Always hit sub. Approach the group. I wonder what we should name this guy. What should we name him? We've had a lot of elven style names, a lot of normal human style names. We should go for something dwarfish. Yeah. What do Theric? Yeah. Healing Theric? Alright. So you decided. Show up. There's a summons. Oh. Not so. So obey. I'm given. Even. The voice. And from the Lee security team, who currently had a rifle in his hands. And slowly, the man in the suit. Should I do more dwarf names? Maybe that should be a thing for Extract. A lot of their people might have ancestry over in the Dwarven lands. Because that's the thing for the humans living in Elven territory, so like the Golden Dawn Imperium and everything, or the Dwarven lands, their naming conventions. Also, my eyebrow is itchy as fuck. What the shit? But their naming conventions will obviously be influenced by the greater culture, right? Oh my god, my eyebrows are so fucking itchy. Holy shit. Yeah, let's do an intermix here. Tell Jeffrey, Cadric, take and to the top floors. slow. Eric walked between the members. Security team towards elevator, where two had turned to step aside with him. One turned to the panel and used his ID scanner before selecting the executive floors, and then stepped off to the side and kept his gaze on the man in the suit. Oh. I just feel so weird right now. I don't know why. I don't know why, I just feel so kind of It's like I'm way more self-conscious right now for some reason, and I don't get what's going on. I like your corporate logo thing. I like it. That's pretty fucking neat. I do agree with you. That's pretty fucking neat. Ugh. Oh my god. Sorry, I just saw something freaky. Like, genuinely freaky. Oh my god. Ugh. So apparently, somebody was cooking a can on top of the stove. Oh my god. Is this really how Dems cook canned soup? My god, chat. Oh my god. You know what's gonna happen. I'm actually glad that he looks away. Because, yep. Yep, that's a hospital visit. That's a hospital visit for sure. Oh my god. Mm. Oh my god. Yeah, dude is very fucking lucky he has eyeballs left. Holy shit, man. Okay. So, if you want to ghetto cook food like that, right? You can use the can. But for the love of God, why did you turn into a pressure vessel? Pop the fucking lid on it, you moron. But since you're in your house and you're not at like a fucking campfire or some shit, just use the fucking pot or the pan you had right there. Just what the fuck? Oh my god. Oh my god. I love creating IEDs. Oh. Exactly. Dude wouldn't even make it as a brain dead hobo. They at least know to open the can first. Fucking exactly. Again, because you don't turn into a pressure vessel. That's not what you want. You're just trying to cook the food. Oh my god. Alright. I just feel really off today, chat. I just feel really, really off today. Well, let's do some reading, shall we? We'll do some reading of what we've got. And we'll go from there. We'll start back at the very beginning. Holy cow, the model freaked out on that side, didn't it? Alright, Guardians of Nature. The man's breathing was rapid, and his muscles ached and twitched as the sheer terror of his situation had fully taken his heart. That vessel was beating firmly in his chest, letting him know that he was in total panic. It was no wonder. They had drawn the attention of things that did not like to be disturbed. Command had even issued warning that they were to conduct their investigation with the utmost care, for they were unsure who was and was not a potential threat. Now, though, the curtain had been drawn back. Their careless wanderings and incitements had bagged themselves the wrong prey. Oh, sure, the man they brought in was amongst the afflicted, and he could be used for furthering knowledge on the reality of their world. Yet their trespass had drawn the ire of those things that could so inflict such a burden on a mortal being, and now one of them was here. The bass klaxon continued to blare out its warning. The entire outpost was on full alert. As if that even mattered now. Not after what the man saw. He was there when he heard the screams from the other side of the blast door, and then watched as the door itself began to rust and shudder while falling apart. When all gathered drew their weapons up towards the entrance, there was at first a sense of shared purpose, that through combined arms they could drive this beast off. All such delusions shattered as the blast door was rent inwards and fell from decayed and rust-pitted hinges. It was then the darkness moved as if it were smoke, slowly filtering into the antechamber room that connected between the loading dock and inner storage. Each weapon was raised, ready to meet this threat, when the first hand could vaguely be seen, its talons scratching at the frame of the door as the beast knelt its head down to get inside. The cacophony of firearms resounded, yet the thing seemed wholly unfazed before it took in a deep breath and let out a trembling roar that seemed to shake the walls. It was then that... Fucking hell. It was then that the thing's eyes and mouth seemed to glow, stretch out and distort before filling the entire doorway. This is his last sight of the thing steeped in shadows of that billowing darkness. All he heard from then on was the screams, cracking of bones, and the sound of wetness splattering against each surface. He had fled from this confrontation and was now held up in a room. At first he was unsure which room he had retreated to in his absent-minded terror, but finally he took note that he was in one of the interrogation rooms. The outpost had 4 of them, and this facility in particular had used them on several occasions. It was their duty to uncover those that tried to hide themselves from the others. It all seemed so pointless now, though. What had they even done that had drawn such ire? Were these things not trying to hide away from the light? From those afflicted, it was clear these things were beasts of malice and hate. They were an enemy to be resisted and fought against. As his mind raced with such thoughts, he heard the blood-curdling scream even through the thick glass of the interrogation room, soon followed by the tattered body being thrown forcefully through it. Shards of glass showered into the room, hitting the table and chairs, which in turn went flying from the fresh corpse impacting them. This sent the man reeling back against the back wall, blood hitting him in the face, which drew his attention for but a moment. A single wipe of his hands, done on instinct, for his hands froze in place and his eyes now opened wide to look in horror at the thing. It slowly grabbed at the frame where once had been the see-through mirror, and it carefully extended a long and thick leg into the room. The glass cutting into its foot seemed to lend it no worry as it climbed inside with him. He tried desperately to speak, to scream, to do anything, but he was frozen in horror as it came into the room with him. Its yellow eyes locked to his, its mouth opening and showing its sharp teeth, and one hand extending out towards him, massive claws still slick with blood. He didn't even move as it took hold of his shoulder and forcefully dragged him closer, his eyes never leaving that of the beast's own. The other hand was drawing something in the air, and then came a searing pain that coursed through his body. Only then did he scream. And that was the opening of the book. Let's read. The dragon's giant thundercock was grabbed firmly by the werewolfess and... Shit, wrong book. Wrong book. Oh, that might be why, too. So, chat, I have a tooth way back here on the left side, on top row, that has not been taken care of. And it's because it's so far back. I thought I had gotten it thoroughly. I had not. And so it had actually decayed from the back. And when I had just swallowed the water there, I could feel the pressure, like, pumping at it. And it's like, ugh. But it's my wisdom teeth, right? For anyone that doesn't know, I got the right side taken out a long time ago. I have no idea why I didn't get both sides taken out. I can't even fathom, like, what stupid reasoning I had back then not to just get both of them done immediately, you know? Like, why didn't I just get both sides done? What possible excuse did I have not to get both sides done? So now I'm just stuck with that. With the tooth that's here that annoys the shit out of me. There, because he can't get to the back of it. Even if I close my mouth all the way, you can't get to that back side. Which again, if you close your mouth all the way, how are you going to get your toothbrush and floss and things like that back there? Stupid fucking tooth. I look forward to the day you fall out. You're lucky you were born without wisdom teeth? Nice. Yeah, they suck. They suck. Bad. Hate them. Actually hate them. And they never grow in right either. That's the worst part. Just fucking bleh. Bleh. Hang on a second, I need to check something. I just realized something. I've got to double check through my work. Yep. That's what it feels like, doesn't it? Okay. So, I hadn't. Good. Good. Whew! Because I thought I had made the mistake of contradicting myself on what the name of the forest was, and I hadn't. I'm going to change the name, though. I'm looking at it. I don't like the name of it. It was originally Bandurst. I'm going to change that. I'm going to make it more towards what Rosentia would be like. Maybe... Yeah. Name for Rosentia. Maybe something with a G. Let's do that. Gillid? No. Maybe the Gallid. Maybe Gattican. Yeah, Gattican I think sounds better. For, like, the Republic of Rosentia. I think Gattican Forest would be good. Alright. Man, let's start chapter 1. We'll read through that as well. Again, it's also good to help refamiliarize myself with everything that's been written too, right? We started this, what, a month ago? So, make sure we keep all the stuff, well, because we need the stuff that's difficult to keep track of are the exacting names of people and places, right? Whereas the higher stuff, the species things and all that stuff like that, those are a lot easier to keep track of. Because they're going to be used over and over and over and over and over again. Right? Even people's names, sure, they'll get used over and over again, but you need to make sure that you got the right person, the right place. Oh, fuck. Oh. Sorry, Chad, I have apparently an excess of gas, and I hate it. Oh. Oh, my side. Oh. Hate. 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 Alright. Chapter 1. Helpful Nature. Hang on a second. Let me fix something here. Much better. Jennifer let out a long sigh as her head remained leaning against the steering wheel. She had heard the tire flop around and could feel the pull in the steering wheel. In the car. Let's do pull in the car. Yeah. Car. Alright. Jennifer let out a long sigh as her head remained leaning against the steering wheel. She had heard the tire flop around and could feel the pull in the car. Thus she stopped to the side of the road. Of all the things she wanted to deal with on her little adventure, a flat tire was... Whoop. Excuse me. A flat tire, while she was out in the middle of the deep woods, was not one of them. As such, she had been sitting here in her current position for at least 10 minutes, slightly grumbling to herself. Well done, Jen. Get to change a tire now. Or wait for help in the middle of the Gattican forest. I'm sure you'll have plenty of help. Oh, wait! She let out another long sigh and then smacked the central wheel, letting the car horn blare out into the night air and disturb some of the local forest critters nearby. It was only after a moment of reflection that she turned her head from the steering wheel and called out, Sorry, it's not your fault. I just do not want to deal with this. She then carefully undid her seatbelt and slowly opened the car door before looking at the front driver's side tire and noted it was nearly off the rim. This means it had a catastrophic flat and would absolutely need to be replaced and not just patched. As she made a mental note of it, she began to turn and head for the trunk when she saw the rear tire was also flat. This made her immediately halt her plans. She then grumbled loudly and closed her eyes, her arms pulling in tight against her sides as an actual growl escaped her lips. Her head looked skyward and a single fuck was raised up to the heavens. Now even if she could replace one of the tires, she didn't magically have two spares on hand. She took several moments and several more breaths before she started to piece things together, and then nodded her head. The second flat didn't look as bad as the first. Perhaps she could patch the tire and replace only the front tire. Maybe we'll do the front one. At the very least, it was worth a shot. She was out on an adventure after all. Hardships were part of any good adventure. Her friends, though, really put the damper on the start of this one. Each of them was so eager and gung-ho to start, but when the date finally arrived, they each decided to bow out. Bow out. Some more gracefully than others, but all of them had left her to her own devices. What the fuck? I'm belching, hiccuping, fucking just sneeze there? What the shit is happening? In truth, though, she didn't mind as much as she expected. She didn't mind as much as she expected she would. Perhaps knowing full well that her thoughts and wants were so eccentric compared to the rest. It seems reminiscing on the past was helping to ease the burden of the work, as she opened the trunk and got out the tire iron, the jack, and then carefully lifted out the spare tire and set it beside the car with a huff. It had been more been more exertion than she expected, but such was the way of things. This was going to be her greatest adventure yet. She had always loved the idea of the natural world being so much more than what was seen. Those stories and fables of nature's mysteries and wrath unleashed on those who would harm it, or not give it the respect it deserves. Such fables were long since myth, but even so, they inflamed her imagination and inspired her desire to look into the darkness and out amongst the trees. In these days, though, such wrath was often carried out by groups of fanatics who would engage in terror attacks on helpless work crews just trying to do a job. Even ones that were strictly adhering to work guidelines, cutting only specific trees and replanting all they could, even going so far as to mark special trees that had to be preserved. Sometimes, though, the real assholes did get exactly what they deserved, but a lot of times it was just tragic. The kobold in your head fell off the hamster wheel. Why is there a kobold in my head? Get out of there. The sadness sapped some of her strength, and she took a moment to just lean against the car and give the spare tire a light tap with her hand. She always hated how her mind would wander between topics so quickly, and how those wanderings could shift her energy levels, be it a placebo or not. Yet she was determined, and even if she didn't want to do something, something needed to be done, so it was time to pick herself up and get to it. She looked down at the ground. She looked down at the ground of the winding dirt road and went back to the trunk to retrieve a towel. She then laid it out on the ground and placed her knees on it before working the jack beneath the car. As she was about to lift it, she had a strange notion. The road was a lot brighter than she expected, and then she heard the subtle popping sounds of rubber tires kicking out rocks. A common enough sound when vehicles traverse dirt roads, and this made her lean back and turn her head to see the source. Michael furrowed his brow as the patrol truck came closer to where the horn was reported. Once the headlights illuminated even a part of the stopped vehicle, he reached a hand out to turn on the spotlight and shined it intently at the car, checking to see if he could spot any other heads or anyone else lurking nearby, besides the woman who was currently trying to effect repairs. It was just some lost tourists who got themselves in a bit of bother, and so he sighed and turned off the spotlight before drawing the truck to a halt a few car lengths away. He then flicked on the lights, causing the top bar to cast out red and blue amongst the trees. He then fixed the cap on his head and slowly started to exit the pickup truck and checked that his duty belt was secure. Routine stuff, to be expected surely. There was no greater warning signs that he could see, no worry or panic from the driver bathed in the headlights, just a sense of relief that someone, anyone, had shown up. Yet Michael was not a fool. He was alone out here as well, and ambushes from the trees were not unheard of, so best to use all due care and caution. Evening, lass. Seems you got some car troubles, eh? The woman beamed with a smile and offered a nod of her head. Yeah, I must have hit something in the road. Got both the tires on the left side. Jennifer was certainly thrilled. Even better was clearly some sort of officer, though her eyes had yet to adjust to the lights shining at her, and the man was clearly staying behind them. So I can see. You out here by yourself? Yeah, just little old me, out on the adventure. Right. Carrying anything on ye I should be worried about? Michael closed his eyes for a moment and let out a long sigh. This lady was not only a tourist, but offered information up so readily, and to her own detriment, that she was either the best actress in the world or just a clueless idiot. Nah, nothing like that. No weapons or nothing. Ma'am, I'm just gonna level with you here. Don't offer tat up so freely. I appreciate you being honest, but you're out here alone. If you ain't lying, I suppose just be glad it were me that found ye, aye? Jennifer frowned some, and then grumbled. Why was an officer being so rude? Not that No, that isn't right. He was just trying to give her some friendly advice, and he was likely right in thinking on this situation more. Likely right. In thinking on this situation more, it was probably not the smartest idea to just state you were alone, defenseless, and with the car being the way it was, helpless. Well, I got my spray and taser. Well, that's a good lass. Oh my god. What the fuck is wrong? Hold on. Well, that's a good lass. Now, both tires, is it? Michael said as he approached, and once he had finally come in front of the headlights, Jennifer could see the green of his uniform and realized he was a ranger. Yeah, one spare, as I'm sure you can guess. That made sense, though. Of course it would be rangers out patrolling in the woods. Sure, this part wasn't officially part of the national park nearby, but it was only a few miles out. There was no sense in not using a road to keep patrol on the outskirts. Now that she thought of it, there had actually been a recent court case to bring this part of the forest under the jurisdiction of protection and protect them from logging. But the case was dragging out more and more. Right. Well, I got to spare, but nae like to work for your car. Fuck. Rear tire don't look too awful bad. Michael knelt down near the rear wheel, and though he was noting it, Excuse me, let's try that again. Michael knelt down near the rear wheel, and though he was noting it and taking observations, he made sure that the woman was always in his vision cone. This was an instinctual thing for him, the logical way to approach a situation. His words were also kept brief so he could keep listening for any other sounds out in the woods that would alert his senses. I have a patch to try and fix a flat, and a can of air to try and refill it. Nae need for tat. Truck's got an air pump in her. Michael tapped the tire to check. It was certainly a slow leak, but the front tire was clearly history. Nothing could be done. My God. Nothing could be done out here to get that thing back and operational. What's your name, lass? And where are you from? Jennifer. Jennifer Woods, if you can believe it. And I live just in the city. Michael let out a soft chuckle and then slowly stood up, turning to face her fully. She was far shorter than he was, but he also tended to loom over some other men as well, being he was 6 foot and 2 inches tall. Well, I can. 'Tis a fine irony for sure. If you promise nae to laugh too much, I am Ranger Michael Wolfe. 2 F's in tat. The woman in turn offered a laugh, though stifled a little as she smiled. Michael used this tactic a few times to put others at ease. It was a common practice to break the ice and tension of a situation. So, just on your way out from La Pradia. Well, don't worry, sir. It's fitting to see a ranger with such a last name, especially near a wolf sanctuary. I also love wolves, so that feels like a nice turn of fate. Michael tilted his head a little and then looked her over carefully. Oh, aye? Do you now? The question was brief. He had heard others say much the same, and it allowed her to talk more and him to gather information as he started to move back towards the truck, though first pressing his hand firmly to the lid of her trunk. By the way, for anyone that doesn't know, officers will place their hand on the vehicle specifically to leave evidence behind, right? That way, if the car takes off or if something happens, there's at least a marking that the officer was there, right? I do. Even have my ears and... Jennifer cut herself off quickly in horror. She realized what she was saying, then instantly clammed up tight. The man stopped walking back to the truck and stood there for a time before he turned back and raised a brow. Your what? Earrings. Just earrings and such. Look like wolves. I mean wolf paws. She bumbled and blurted out the excuse quickly, but the man didn't budge and instead furrowed his brow. You one of them. What's it? Michael internally groaned. Why was it always him? Why did he always get the weird ones? Sure, he didn't mind given the grand scheme of things, but it always felt like fate twisted him towards their direction. Right. Say no more. Well, you seem to be the most well-adjusted one I've ever met. A lot of 'em come round the wolf sanctuary. Michael then lowered his voice as he continued back towards the truck, whispering to himself, and always when I'm around working. Jennifer felt like her face was on fire. Eccentric? She felt like she was a downright degenerate eel. No, a worm, something far lesser. She wanted at this very moment to curl up and cease existence to spare herself the embarrassment. For his part, Michael took a little bit of extra time at the truck getting the air pump out and grumbled. Was this a test of the spirits? Were all of them tests? Was he just a magnet for the depraved, or was it just a more likely coincidence given what he was? He had to think clearly given all the people he has interacted with, these more... My God. He had to think clearly. Given all the people he has interacted with, these more odd types were the vast minority. When he finally retrieved the air pump from the back of the Ranger pickup, he came back around to see the woman leaning against the car with a face of dread. Certainly it seemed she knew shame. It was at this moment he began to take in more details of her. She was decently tall for a woman, with black hair, seemingly natural, though checking the roots would be difficult without being too close and in this light. If he had to guess, she was around 5 foot 10 inches and seemed to be in fair shape. Clearly some effort was put into herself and not just on her fantasies. Speaking of which, as he looked at the back seat, he could see the aforementioned wolf ears sticking up out of the box, along with a wolf tail, which made him take a deep breath and nod. It must be the spirit's doing, surely. When she realized that the man had clearly seen the box, she nearly slumped to the ground. Yet this was no way to behave. She was a weirdo, and she had accepted that fact. Thus she took a deep breath and pushed off the car to stand upright. Her eyes turned to look at the man's reflection, as she couldn't bring herself to look directly at him yet. Sorry for, Nay, don't start down that. Just dragging it out more. We got work to do. It was no time to drive her into self-loathing. She was one of the strange ones for sure, but in the grand scheme it worked out for the better this way. He just had to remind himself of that fact and set about his duties. For her part, Jennifer was grateful to the man and admired his professionalism. As such, she finally decided to put up a brave front and face him, even noting more details about him in turn. Let's put that there. First and foremost, he clearly had red hair and brilliant blue eyes. He was also clearly in great shape, though given the law enforcement nature of the Rangers, that was little surprise. There was also a wariness to his face, but given the situation, that was not at all surprising either. Right. What can I do to help? Foofta. The pair worked for a time, with Michael putting in the muscle and Jennifer acting as assistants. The conversations had also been relatively lax as they replaced the driver's side tire and soon enough patched and refilled the rear one. Though it seemed the leak was worse than they thought, with the patch unable to maintain air pressure in the tire. Well, that ain't gonna hold. I suppose I'll pull me truck up and we can hook your car to it. Give you an impromptu tow to the visitor center. It needs to be done. If it needs to be done, then it needs to be done. It's clear that Jennifer was entirely over the situation at this point. It wasn't that she begrudged them trying, but clearly that their best efforts were thwarted. It was time to shift gears. Mind if I sit in the truck with you, Mr. Wolf? Michael let out a soft chuckle and then waved a hand before he went back to the truck. Let me bring it round the front and hook her up. I'm going to be slow traveling. Make sure you put your car in neutral, lass. She gave a nod of her head and slowly settled back in her car, before shifting it into neutral and then lightly tapping at the steering wheel. She then leaned over and opened the glove box before retrieving a small makeup kit and smiling at it. This had been a gift from her mother to her, and she would do her best to keep it safe. She carefully pulled on a jacket and then slipped the makeup kit into the pocket as the pickup truck drove around to the front of the car. Michael climbed out and began hooking the car to the truck, making sure he went from strong point to strong point. As he was doing so, he heard the howl in the distance and leaned back, furrowing his brow as he looked off in the distance from where it was coming and grumbled. He then waved a hand off in that direction and slowly looked to Jennifer, who waited nearby, and gave him a smile. You can go ahead and get in the passenger side, lass. Just finishing the hookups and making sure they're all sturdy. Going to be just giving her a wee bit of speed. No rush, no risk needed. Jennifer nodded her head and stepped around the front of the truck and opened the passenger door before sitting inside. She then looked back and realized there was a cage between the front and back seats. Once again, she had to remind herself that the Rangers were a law enforcement unit, but she had never been inside of a police car before. The wolf grumbles. Yeah. Basically, there's a howl that's giving him some information, and he's just like, I'm busy. Her musings were cut off when a howl came from nearby, and she quickly started to look around. The Ranger then opened the driver's side door and slowly settled in, which drew her attention over to him. What was that? Is there a wolf nearby? Can we see it? Calm down, lass. Aye, there be one nearby, it seem, but nothing to fear from it. At any rate, settle back. We got a ways to go before we get to the centre. You can get your chance to see them wolves tomorrow, when the park opens proper. She furrowed her brow and then sighed some. She knew he was right. Wandering in the woods in the dark was not smart, especially when going to meet with a predator that was likely on the prowl for food. She really did need to rein in her enthusiasm and think things through more. But at least she got to meet someone nice on this little adventure. The truck slowly started to creep away, pulling the car carefully behind it. The speed was low, but again she knew the ranger was right. There was no rush, and the last thing either of them would want is for the car to get loose or snagged and damaged on something else. Better to just limp things along. So, lass, ye said you were on some sort of adventure. Michael kept his eyes forward. Even if the vehicle was only doing 10 miles per hour, that could still cause issues if he needed to slam on the brakes. Yeah, it's silly, but, well, I've always been fascinated by the woods and thinking about what could be out hiding in them. Michael raised a brow at that, but nodded his head for her to continue speaking. Well, when I was young, I enjoyed all those fables and tales about the wrath of nature and the comeuppance of the bad. I know that stuff is just make-believe, but even so, it made me very curious. I was going to stop by the wolf sanctuary as well before I went out looking for stuff. Just silly sightseeing, basically. And you really like wolves, huh? Jennifer took a deep breath as she became flustered some, but decided it was better to just speak up. After all, the man already clearly knew her deeper desires from her bumbling tongue and carrying around the box with her. I do. Not like wolves, more like, man-like wolves. Michael furrowed his brow and then grumbled a little to himself. How did Tot even start? I don't know. Just went that way, I guess. Always had a thing for them. I know it's weird. Michael nodded his head in agreement, but also felt a bit like a hypocrite, which made him feel strange. I suppose we all have things that make us tick that others find strange. But lass, roaming around by yourself ain't that smart thing, eh? May seem boring, but stick to the tours. Last thing I want is to go out and find your body somewhere 'cause you fell or got mauled. I know, I've been doing a lot of thinking. Lately those attacks, while most of them are terrible, some just feel right, you know? I know that's terrible to say, but like that one mining company, Extract or whatever their name was. I know those were people, and lass, it's fine. I agree with you. Some folks are far too eager to do harm in the name of a cause. Those folk end up harming the very thing they claim to fight for. Extract, though. Nasty pieces of work, those lot were. Won't say I lose any sleep for those bastards. Not real charitable for a lawkeeper to say, but I hope it hurt. I agree. The fact they were intentionally just... Who would think to be that cruel? All just to get some land cheaper. Michael nodded his head and let out a huff from his nose as his grip on the steering wheel got tighter. Trust me, you're preaching to the choir, lass. As I said, I hope it hurt. Given the conversations, the trip didn't seem so long, and the truck eventually pulled into the visitor center. It was still dark at night, many hours before the center would Many hours before the center would be open to the public, but Michael offered to let her come in and crash on a sofa. In the morning, she would call a tire company to come out and swap out her tire, and in the meantime, she could go and visit the wolves until they arrived. Michael finished unhooking the car, and then with Jennifer steering... Please hold a second. Holy crap. Alright. Michael finished unhooking the car and then, with Jennifer steering, helped push it into a parking spot. Right, lass? I can't offer nothing for food, save what you can get from the vending machines, but feel free to get comfy. I'll radio the other rangers and let 'em know what happened proper. Jennifer smiled at him and gave a nod before she retrieved the makeup kit and opened it. Michael then returned the nod and slowly wandered past her, starting to unlock the doors to the visitor center. She closed her eyes for a long time and smiled to herself, I need to put a comma there. For even if she kept to the boring tours, she already had an amusing story. As she opened her eyes and looked to the mirror in the makeup kit, she froze for a second, then narrowed her focus and stared intently at it. Quickly her head turned to look at Michael, who was slowly wrangling some keys and had his back turned to her. She checked the reflections in the glass, and all seemed normal, but when she turned her focus back to the makeup kit and held the mirror up, her eyes went wide. There, standing at the door, was a wolf-headed thing, slowly wrangling something, its outline a haze as it started to unlock the doors before it turned to activate a radio on its shoulder. Andrea, this is Michael. Do you read me? Over. Yeah, Mikey. I hear you. Go ahead, over. Ran into a lass in trouble in the woods. Got her car to the visitor center. She's gonna crash here for the night. Name's Jennifer Woods. Over. Fitting name. All right. I'll get her added to the notations and let the others know. Over. Sounds good. Heading back out momentarily. Over and out. Jennifer kept staring at the mirror and the thing now looming behind her as it drew nearer. She had a mix of emotions on her face. The impossibility of it, and the situation as a whole. The thing stood behind her and tilted its head. Lass, you all right? Michael stopped talking, as his eyes looked now directly at the mirror held up and saw his reflection. His true reflection. When you said a wolf was nearby, you really meant it, didn't you? She said, and then she slowly lowered the mirror and then looked at the ranger intently, who scowled some and furrowed his brow. A silver mirror. Not very common. Hard to plan for. Michael ran through the scenarios in his mind. The worst part was he had just called in her name and that she was present at the visitor center, and the cameras inside would show he was there with her. The timing was incredibly terrible. Clearly the work of spirits. No doubt in his mind. Well, lass, this presents a rather significant You look so cool! The woman's words stunned him for a moment, and then he The woman's words stunned him for a moment, and he then traced his thinking right back to the earlier revelation of the evening. She was a weirdo through and through. Wolfmen are real! Wolfmen are real! Jennifer quickly brought the mirror up and looked at it again, staring at the wolf with red fur and blue eyes, now looking back at her with incredible annoyance. Yet she didn't seem to mind, as she got up and stepped forward, even drawing a hand up to try and touch his face, which Michael stepped back from. Spirits grant me strength. He had no concept of how he would handle this situation now. What choices had he now been boxed into? As he took a deep breath and looked up at the night sky, he saw some spirit birds flying overhead and made the conscious choice that this was entirely their fault. There you go, there's chapter 1. Fucking spirits. Damn it. Damn it, spirits, I don't need this kind of bullshit right now. I don't need this kind of bullshit. Bitch, I eat people. Yep. And that's part of the problem, right? His entire thing is like, he could kill her. The problem is that he had just radioed in not only her name, but where they were, what he was currently doing, and of course, so, like, it wouldn't be just, well, I dropped her off at the center and she went missing and stuff like that. And like, no, you just said that you were there with her at the center right now. You didn't drop her off. And the cameras at the visitor center obviously would see you. Bitch, I eat people. So that comes into play more later on, right? Where Michael has to admit that, like, the thing he should do is kill her. But he starts going through, but you didn't freak out or scream or anything like that. You didn't, like, while the radio was on, and you knew the radio was on, you weren't, like, screaming, werewolf, or anything like that, right? So, and again, her being a weirdo has kind of worked in her favor. It's worked in a disfavor in that Michael is looking at her like, what in the fuck? But it's worked in her favor in that because she's more inquisitive and curious about it, even though, granted, it comes from the root of lust, right? Because she's more willing to humor it and hear them out, which, again, Michael, maybe we should jump to that part. Maybe we should jump to that part. Yeah, let's jump to chapter 3. Michael let out a low growl as he hurried through the visitor center's lobby. The woman kept pace with him, the same smile still writ large on her face. At this moment, he just wanted some time to think through the situation, think through how best to remove this woman as a potential threat. Was it really necessary, though? Was all this truly set in motion by the spirits? How did her car even suffer the damage it had? These questions began circulating through his head as he opened the office doors and stepped inside. Yet Jennifer barged her way in right behind him. Why the silent treatment all of a sudden? I just want to know more. Michael frowned and looked at the cameras around the place, grateful that they didn't pick up audio. Even so, he had to at least pretend to be level-headed and not look aggressive. The camera footage suddenly going missing around her would be incredibly suspicious, and it took effort to get his position in the Rangers, even with the forestry department being so heavily infiltrated by Wolverine and other shifters. Look, lass, you have me in an awkward position. I didn't really know ye. How can we possibly trust ye with knowledge? So it is a we. There's more than just you? This is so cool. And what, you want to kill me just for knowing? Doesn't that seem silly? I am firmly on Team Wolf. You don't even know what Team Wolf stands for, lass. You're not thinking with your head, but your lust. What if I were to go right this second and kill your family? Would you still be so charitable? Jennifer was about to make a snap answer, but then had to stop and think about it. Was her lust just carrying her away? The fact she was so eager to answer him certainly seemed to suggest that. Naturally, she would be horrified if he attacked her family. Shit, the Ranger was right again. Well, you may be correct, but I suppose look at it this way. I'm very willing and eager to listen to what the wolf side is. Does that not count for anything? Yeah, you aren't thinking with your head, but your whole. Basically. He took a deep breath and closed his eyes as he began to think some more. It was true that she hadn't panicked or screamed. She hadn't even raised a fuss while the radio was active at all. If she had, that would have already cast the die towards disaster. And she not only remained calm, but was overly enthusiastic. So what if it was lustful thinking that kept her composure? At least she was a human that was willing to listen, even if she just wanted something carnal from him. Nay, lass, you're right. You are at least willing to listen, and that does count. So, I will give ye a chance to do so. But just know up front, 'tis be an awkward spot to be in, and tat has me anger welling up quick like. I understand. A part of you has been exposed you didn't wish to be. I am very much on the receiving end of that tonight, as well, as you may remember. The man nodded his head some as he recalled the revelations about this woman's deviant tastes. I am certainly eager, though you're right, it may be due to baser desires, but I want to listen and learn. I'm incredibly curious. Could I be, you know... Look, lass, I'll answer truthful on tat, but it not be the same thing. Ye could gain some ability like what me kind have, but it is nae the same. It is also exceptionally painful and cannot be undone. It won't give ye anywhere near what we could do, nor am I going to inflict that upon ye now. Jennifer's eyes were positively beaming. So there was a curse. But what did he mean it wasn't the same? Was she able to turn into a wolf? If so, that is all the benefit she needed to hear. It being painful was little obstacle to even the chance to live out a part of her fantasies. So what are the downsides? Michael looked at her for a moment, dumbstruck as what to say. It be incredibly painful. You will writhe and scream in agony for hours. I'll get over that. What else? Lass, spirits give me strength. Let's move past that for now. I only meant to answer you truthful, and I have done such. But you need to learn at least some of what we are, and learn to be less open. Look, Mr. Wolf with one F. It's just you and me talking here. I'm not shouting it from the rooftops or calling all my friends and screaming wolfmen are real. I want to know as much as I can. Everything. Everything you're willing to share, that is. Michael frowned and tilted his head a little. His thoughts once more turned back and forth on if this was even a good idea or not. For now, though, he would give bits of information and test her along the way. It wasn't his plan to mentor some lowly human, but as he kept repeating to himself, this situation was clearly caused by some spirits, somehow, in some way. Well, firstly, you need to show a bit of grace that I'm letting you live at all. Secondly, I'll teach you when I feel like it. I already feel me anger and spite filling up, and I rather like this bit of work. So, the fables are true about werewolves having incredible rage and fury. In a sense, it be true that we all experience anger. Some express it as a deep resentment for others, not like us. It's a powerful tool, though, a burden placed on us by Meraxus himself. Wait, you wolves believe in Meraxus? I thought that was just a dragon thing, or, those allied with dragons. Our people are one of them. We are charged by Meraxus to defend nature, the spirits, and the natural order. The wrath we feel can be an incredible tool when wielded with precision and through discipline, but can lead to incredible self-destruction as some wallow in the thrill of it. So Meraxus is real? Like, I always just thought he was, just an ideal or one of those phantom deities used to keep people, or, dragons in line. Nay, he be real all right. I only seen a glimpse of his avatar once. He descended to speak with Hatterix and our honored elders. 'Tis was at the end of the war about 11 years back. Whoops. Yeah, no, 11 years back. That's right. Sorry, I had a brief moment of thing. It was like, no. William had the dreams 15 years ago when the landing at Isle Hattori happened, but the war obviously didn't end after Isle Hattori was taken. He laid out everything that was happening, and how this war had shifted the world, and then he laid out the choice to be made, sink or swim. Are we but the weak expecting the strong to come save the day, or will we prove to be the strong that bring down the wicked? He offers guidance and a bit o' aid, but he will nae do all the work for us. I never understood that. Doesn't it seem so callous? Well, I guess I don't know what his teachings truly are. It isn't really taught much for, well, humans don't really learn much of the other religions unless they seek them out. Maybe that will be your first lesson proper. To understand us, my people, you need to understand the teachings by which we live and die. Jennifer nodded her head and slowly leaned back against a nearby wall, getting comfortable before she waited for him to continue. Michael, on the other hand, took a deep breath and then thought about his words carefully for a time. He wasn't a preacher or even all that well versed in everything. He lived in the things he saw were true, and thus when Meraxus, the dragon god of dragons, descended and spoke, it had cemented the ideals in his mind. Well, first, let me tell you about the trifecta. The idea of three beings making up the entirety of existence. Not on some philosophical level, but on a deeper personal level. There are three types of people in the world. Same with every species and race. The weak, the wicked, the strong. In traditional fables and lores, ideals of heroism and nobility, the strong are charged to defend the weak from the wicked. Meraxus teaches that this is in fact a shackled existence, forcing those with strength to obey and adhere to the mulings of the weak because the weak fear them. It is entitlement, encouraging laziness on the part of the weak because someone else will come and save the day. In reality, the strong are charged to destroy and thwart the wicked in all things, to be the crusaders that bring down evil. In so doing, the burden on the weak is lessened. Yet all too easily the strong can become the wicked when they allow their strength to consume them and turn them in turn to cruelty and gluttony against the weak. The weak, though, can choose to become strong just from that choice and wishing to stand for themselves. Such should be encouraged. Does that make sense? Michael was unsure if he had explained it properly. He was no priest, just a simple Wolverine who did his best to stand strong and help combat the wicked of the world. I don't know. If you are not to protect the weak, are the spirits weak, or what about nature? Should they not look after themselves? Ah, yes. It seems a contradiction, don't it? But this is more like ensuring we all have air to breathe, that the world keeps turning. The natural world and spirits are a part of existence. We wouldn't decide to spurn all oxygen in the air simply because the air can't defend itself. It would be a madness to allow someone to fill our lungs with poisons or suffocate us and our loved ones. The spirits, though you may have seen any, are tied to existence itself. Each one with will is its own being, own existence. They can offer wisdoms and teachings. Their strength comes in their direct ties between this world and that of the divine. Through choosing to protect them, we offer payment for their wisdom, and thus can utilize the boons they teach. Jennifer mulled things over a bit, trying to understand his point of view. It just seemed too self-aggrandizing to her mind. Surely a chivalrous knight was better than being a rampaging crusader. She did have to admit, though, this was her first real chance at even trying to comprehend the philosophy, and so she just waved a hand. I get some of it. I just feel like the strong should protect the weak. What if someone that is strong does that anyways? Well, they are strong. That's their earned right to do. The difference is it being a choice to defend those who won't defend themselves, and it being some sort of mandated obligation that you must defend them. Actually, that should be ye must. Yeah, I gotta fix some stuff here. Hold on. And by the way, keep in mind his words there, right? The difference is it being a choice to defend those who won't defend themselves. That's part of being the weak. The weak are those who are like,
No, someone else should do all the hard work for me.
You know, it's those pathetic people like, you don't need a gun to defend yourself, right? It's like, well, of course you do. You're going to take responsibility for yourself. These are the people that are like, no, the police are the only ones that need it. Everyone else should be disarmed. And then there'll never be any more gun crimes ever again. In my fucking fairy tale fantasy, retarded worldview. Because we know criminals obey laws, right? That's what makes them criminals. Their adherence to the law. So, in essence, the strong can do as they will because they are strong? Might makes right? A cab, but also only police should be allowed to have guns. Yeah, these people are fucking delusional. In a manner of speaking, yes, but this is part of the teachings. You shan't let the idea that your own strength gives you excuse to become a butcher, a rapist, or any manner of the wicked. Being strong isn't just in the strength of one's arm. It's your will, your cunning, your discipline. What about me? Would I not be considered weak? Again, in a manner of speaking. Yet you said you carried around a taser and some spray. You already are choosing to take more responsibility for yourself. You aren't relying that everything will be solved by someone stronger than ye are now. It's funny. My brother is the one that started making me think about carrying those. He always told me, when every single second counts, help is always minutes away. Well, your brother is a smart lad then. Now, I must beg pardon. I cannot stay here and chat with you all eve. I need to get back out on patrol. But I'm taking a big risk on you here. Do not make me a fool. I swear to ye right here and now, I will protect my people with all the ferocity I What the fuck? Ugh. I swear to ye right here and now, I will protect me people with all the ferocity I can muster. I understand, Mr. Wolf with one F. Jennifer smiled at the ranger, who simply sighed and then slowly left the office, though called back as he did so. Feel free to sleep in the break room. It has a nice sofa to relax on. I'll be back in a few hours to check on ye. When he stepped outside, he looked up at the moon above and grumbled a bit. Perhaps the lady herself was casting such craziness down around him. She was a thing of wild nature, switching her mood as she changed faces during the phases. I'm uncapitalizing those things. I originally was going to capitalize every time someone referred to her. But then I was like, oh, that'll get wild when you refer to all the different divine entities and you have to capitalize all the things. Whoa, it'll be turned into a mess. No, it wasn't right that he was casting such aspersions on others. Life was chaotic and unpredictable. This was just another knot on the branch. Slowly, he brushed over his face and then took a deep breath before readjusting his cap. As he turned his eyes back to his pickup truck, he immediately frowned as he saw the bird sitting on the hood, lightly pecking at the windshield. Quickly he approached and then gave a little sigh to get the bird's attention. This caused the avian to turn before a flash of light came from its beak, which made Michael grunt and raise a hand up to shield his eyes. Gah! You shouldn't sneak up upon a bird. Very rude. Take it from that little display. You're one of her guiding lights. Brightbeak, that's my name. Yes. Never would have guessed. Michael tilted his head and then looked at the avian beak, which glowed constantly even when not using it as a distressing flashbang. So, to what do I owe the pleasure of a chat? She says trouble nearby. Dangerous. Very dangerous. What kind of trouble? Big trouble, or else why would she tell me? Yes, very much trouble. And this trouble would be what exactly? Michael wanted to get the spirit to the point, but rushing them usually put one on the wrong footing. It was better to just speak calmly and let the spirit dictate the pace of the conversation. After all, if one were to get on the bad footing with a spirit, especially one that clearly worked with higher beings on the totem pole, it would spell disaster for future talks. Gossip amongst spirits was rampant, so best to humor the bird brain. Twisted ones nearby. Blessings of those below on them. Very bad. Set up a trail to follow. Not one with her light. Nope, not at all. But got many things moving. Many things. Guide you I shall. Show you a secret kept. In the woods, but unknown to Wolverine. Almost missed it, if not for her light. Where? I would appreciate your guidance, Brightbeak. Will show. She wants you to know. Important, she said. Very important. Don't know why, but she knows, so must be true. Michael quickly climbed into the pickup truck. Brightbeak then began to fly up into the air and started to shine the light down on the ground so the truck could follow it. He wasn't sure why, but if the moon was sending out spirits to directly involve themselves in a situation, then clearly something was going on. The moon was currently its waxing crescent. Yeah, that's correct. Rising up towards the half moon. This was Michael's moon, the moon of his birth and what set the course of it for his life. It had always been a subtle thing, guiding him in the background. He had always shown an interest in the supernatural and would seek out teachings about them. His life before had slowly been preparing him for his life after. When he underwent his first change, when the tension and wrath were too much, and he tore his way through that library, the world exploded in such vibrance and wonder. It wasn't just a release of all the anger, all those growing frustrations and worries, but a genuine awakening. All the sights and scents heightened, all the sounds coming in clear, all the sensations of joy coursing through his body, the thrill of strength flooding him. Sure, the pain was unimaginable, his body cracking and breaking, but this added to the pile and fueled the rampage that tore the library and a few attendants to shreds. It was as he came down from this high of power that he realized there were hundreds of things watching him, chatterings and pointing at him as if they had all been waiting to bear witness to his arrival. This is when he could properly see those things that could settle between the seams of the world. It was then they gathered close and pulled him away, dragging him down and through those cracks in the world into the other side of the mirror. It was apparently a game that the spirits played. When one of the Wolverine was nearing the tipping point, they would gather around and make sport of it. That line would make sport of if that line would be crossed. Apparently those that resisted their true nature for longer would have the most spectacular of awakenings, and thus would draw larger crowds. That initial frenzied rage, not yet ready to be tamed, would lend its own strength and power to the first awakened. This very thought would lead Michael to question things, though. If the Smilers were the embodiment of those Wolverine who succumbed to the temptation of vice, why was it that all Wolverine would have such a spectacular rage, above and beyond that of any Smiler to start with, and not be instantly corrupted by it? He would one day need to tell that human Jennifer about the Smilers and the corrupted bargains they forged for power. For her part in all of this, Jennifer laid back on the sofa and stared up at the ceiling. She was far too anxious and excited to sleep. Her world had suddenly become infinitely more complex and beautiful than she could ever imagined. This morning she had wanted to go on an adventure, all the while in the back of her mind knowing for certain it was just going to be a stroll around nature to relax before going back to her life. Now, though, she had genuinely uncovered something incredible, and more than just that, something she always dreamed could be possible but put aside as just silly fantasy. As she started thinking on it more, though, she had an odd series of thoughts. Why did she think none of this was possible? Magic was real, though exceptionally rare. If such a thing as a wizard could truly exist, why couldn't it have capabilities to manipulate shape and form? What had led her to think that such things were totally impossible to begin with? This also made her question what the curse was. Such musings were interrupted, though, when she heard the soft howling that came into the break room. This drew her attention and focus far more than anything else, and thus she began to rise up before she heard the voices and quickly remained hidden. You stupid fucking prick. You useless meat sack. Your carelessness delayed our plans. The first voice was incredibly deep and rich, one that could easily serenade someone. I haven't even had time to check their systems. Now I'm doing your damn task for you. Master, I'm sorry. I didn't expect a bunch of NDA spooks to show up. The second voice was far more meek, though given the content of his words, it was clear this was likely from fear. I don't need your excuses. I'll take such joy in putting you back in your place properly. A deeply unsettling chuckle came from the first voice. This made Jennifer tense up and even made the second voice let out a whimper. Perhaps, though, we could salvage something from your fuck-up. The NDA will send a cleanup team. The NDA will send cleanup teams to figure out why they lost contact. We just need to ensure more oddities in the area. Drive out those useless, pathetic mongrels. Oh, I can already feel the sorrow. The voices ceased to speak for a time, and Jennifer carefully cracked the door open to try and look outside. She couldn't see both of the people at once, but did at least see an average-sized man, well-built and with blonde hair, who looked to be shying away from something else. Master, won't they get suspicious? They could blow the entire secret. Silence, you useless sleeve. The secret of our existence will be spared. The NDA won't allow knowledge to leak out. But those useless fucking humans can be put to service in driving the mewling weaklings into desperation. I'm sorry, Master. I told you to be quiet. The second thing came into view. It was another man, taller than the first, and it cracked him across the face hard. Jennifer swore she could hear bone break from the impact, and the first man fell to the floor and wrapped his arms around his head and whimpered. How it brings such a smile to my face to see your pitiful misery. This made the choice for Jennifer immediately, who carefully retreated from the door and hid beside the wall. Whoever the second man was, they were clearly unhinged and very violent. Slowly, she retrieved the taser and spray from her jacket and held them both close to her chest, as if they were the only thing in existence. Now, get up. We need to search for the documents now. This place will not be empty forever, and I want to start visiting the little sheep as soon as possible. Jennifer's breathing quickened, and she looked to the door and then around the room. Was there any place she could hide in here? Should she dial 911? Would anyone be able to assist her? What would Mr. Wolf think of her? She then made a choice, one in haste, but also with the strange desire to be helpful. She withdrew her phone, turned off the flash, and crept back to the door. A picture was worth 1,000 words, and so she took a dozen of both men. There you go. That was chapter 3. Tasty. Right. And so remember, as we learned later, so the streams, like not even 2 days ago, I talked about it. But those documentations were about the Briars Glade Hotel, right? That's what those documentation was about. The order from the federal offices had gone down to basically like remove documentation, everything like that. We're gonna put out like what the Briar's Glade is and so on and so forth. Like it's just they're basically just abandoning a site, right? Ugh. Sorry, chat. I am super fucking mucusy for some reason. But they're basically abandoning the Briar's Glade, which the Briar's Glade was a hotel, but it was like again, I'm pretty sure it's Greenbrier is what it is in real life. Yeah, Greenbrier. Only not spelled with I-A-R, but I-E-R. Greenbrier.
Yeah, but
Excuse me. Yeah, it is a hotel that had a massive bunker complex built underground underneath it, right? And this bunker complex was for the government. So in case of any like invasion or attacks or anything, they could all retreat to this bunker and still have the government functioning, right? For crisis situations. It's the same thing here. The Briar's Glade is a similar concept. It was a hotel that was set up as a front, and then underneath the hotel was a bunker complex. The hotel being a front would allow them to bring in tons of food and supplies and things like that without people being suspicious. And again, the NDA have started to purge their systems of documentation on it because now it's basically a cut and burn situation, right? It's like it's not needed anymore. Who fucking cares? We'll let it rot. There's nothing more value there. There's nothing to be gained. It's just an empty building. But that doesn't mean all of the information is gone forever, right? That's part of why the hotel is more important than people realize it is. Like the conglomerate wants the hotel because they want the bunker. So that's why Extract is working around in the area. The Smiler clearly wants information about the hotel, which the Smiler was working for the NDA, specifically for the other Smiler, who is Commander Lorcan. He wants the hotel and the bunker and stuff there. But that's because he's working with the conglomerate thing. That's part of the whole thing of like what the suit said, what Tharkin said. Oh, wow, ooh, itchy, scratchy. And of course, the hotel is now owned by Smiling Wolf Studios, who are setting up the porn shoot there. And only now realizing that not only do they get a really cool location they can use for their business, but finding the entrance to the bunker, though they can't get through the blast door yet, but they found the entryway. They're like, oh, sweet. And the only reason they started looking for this bunker system to begin with was because of Michael. Because Michael's loose lips. Granted, loose lips inside of a place where he should have been safe to talk. But Jonathan obviously overheard him, and Jonathan being a Yalderskald, well, perfect recall memory. He'll never forget what Michael said. Yeah, well, I guess I shouldn't say loose lips. That's doing a disservice to Michael, right? Because Michael was speaking inside the Steinwerke of the tribe that he was with. So, he was in a safe location. This is literally where some of the members are just standing around in their full Wolverine form, right? Like, it's a safe place to talk. It's just that the guests were being escorted through at the time, and one of the guests, who was in his Varger form, aka the direwolf form, listened in intently because he heard the name of the spirit that they basically worship. That's why he was like, "Hold on, I heard Jerox's name. Please continue with your conversation. I am going to listen in now intently." And that's what made him focus so intently on Michael and Sarah, because Michael was talking to Sarah at the time and requested them to be at the meeting. And Greenbrier is such a cool fucking place. It's genuinely such a cool fucking place, this security bunker and everything. Like, they even have like a full-on room for the president to give speeches and things like that to the nation, to address the nation, right? So they have like a massive auditorium and everything underground. Here we go. Here we go. Boop. This is also where Congress and everything could meet if they needed to. We call it the Cope Room. Me. Just such a cool fucking place. Yep. So yeah, the Smiling Wolf Studios basically got like super fucking lucky with this purchase and everything. Again, they had their own thing for it, right? They had their own thing that they wanted to do with it, but the fact that they had it, and then realizing that Jerox was there, and Meraxis said that this particular convergence point, which are very fucking important to the Wolverine and all shifter species, but yeah, the convergence points are where the lines of magic, the ley lines, will converge, right? It's where spirits gather. Now, there's not just massive ley lines, there are also small little like whiskers that go out and about. So you can find convergences if you know how to trace these things. Tracing them is very difficult though. And it also doesn't mean that like, oh, it's going to be on the surface, right? It could be anywhere. Here, they got lucky because the ley lines crossed each other underground here inside the bunker itself. So they found a convergence point, and they're going to sanctify it as soon as they can, and that will allow Jerox to actually move in, and it will anchor him to the mundane world. That's how the greater spirits operate. So, because remember, you have the tiers of spirits, right? You have figments at the bottom, wisps, tangibles, forces, graders, incarnations, and then avatars. Ugh. You are correct. A convergence point could be way up in the sky. Again, it is the funnels, the lanes of magic. The lanes of magic don't have to respect the geography of the ground. It's also why there could be ones in the deep, deep oceans. That's where a lot of the were sharks and stuff like that will gather, obviously. There also tend to be places like it. You tend to have obvious clues that there's a convergence nearby a place when a place has a lot of like weird things happening. You know, like there's a lot of oddities around. Like, hey, there's that old abandoned manor that people say is super fucking haunted and shit like that. Well, it's likely because there's a convergence point there, somewhere on the grounds, right? A lot of people go disappearing. It'd be like somewhere in the Bermuda Triangle there's a convergence, right? Because of all the disappearances and stuff. That would be like if we did a weird thing, right? Like somewhere in the Bermuda Triangle there's a convergence point, maybe multiple. That's why there's so many disappearances. Here we go. Graders. These are the spirits that have gained strength and power for themselves and will act as commanders to those beneath them. These are often what tribes of Wolverine, druids, and those with shamanistic religions will contract with as an overall guide. True dragon spirits, greater demons, and angels would fall within this category. They are those entities that now hold such sway that they can directly act as leaders within the divine realms. Definitely Convergence, not a hungry dragon. I mean, a lot of dragons will make nests near convergences too. Because again, they are they're kind of mobile convergences. Dragons are, because magic comes from dragons. So it's that kind of like, because all the dragons are building nests and things like that, they have their domains and stuff, and they're basically the wellspring that magic comes from. It feeds into the ley lines. So a lot of ley lines will start developing because of a dragon building its den there. And because the dragon is there and constantly exuding magics, then the ley line gets stronger and stronger, and it starts spreading out the whiskers and spreading out the marks across to link to other ley lines and other convergence points. But a dragon in and of itself can wander around. That's why spirits can manifest around dragons very easily. Because they're basically like mobile hotspots, right? But also, again, as the world learned, you don't want to fuck with the dragons. Like, when the dragons were revealed and the world realized that they were not at the top of the food chain, and they decided that they were going to fight to correct this mistake they saw, that did not go well for them. Granted, it wasn't like a curb stomp victory, right? It wasn't just the dragons just won outright. But it was obviously a very lopsided conflict. A very lopsided conflict. And one of the big things that kind of settled the matter was one of the primordial dragons. Primordial dragons are the originators for the race, right? Primordial dragons will pop into existence, sculpted specifically by the divine realms to exist there, and they are what start propagating the race across the planet. But a primordial dragon, Jonathan got to bear witness firsthand to it, which is why Jonathan is kind of the way he is. He watched the primordial dragon cast one of the most devastating spells there was, and he essentially inverted reality on this one island. Just as a way to kind of show, like, if you don't stop fucking around with us, if you don't leave us alone, I'm going to cast this on some of your cities. And so there was an island that had a population of about 50,000 people on it, and he inverted reality on that island. And so those 50,000 people immediately got shunted into the spirit realm. And that island is infamously like a no-go zone, right? Because it's like a hole. It's a hole in the world. And he's just like, you want to keep fucking around, I'm going to start doing this to your major cities. Because the dragons don't give a shit. They can go in and out between the divine realms and the mundane world easy peasy. Normal people cannot. Once you go in one side, it doesn't mean you can go right back out the other side. Yeah. That's good for today. Right? Oh, also, because he inverted reality, there is a spot in the spirit realms now that has that island in it, right? So basically he swapped them around. So there's a spiritual island now in the mundane world where, a lot of hauntings and a lot of terrible things happen if you're not careful, where a lot of the predators in the spirit realm can kind of lash out and grab people that get too close. And then in the spirit realms itself, there's now like an island, like literally, that's just there in the spirit realms that's solid and, normal to function. Normally, there's only a lot of rigidity and solidity near a convergence point. But now this is basically turned this into like a flip-flop on its head. Like, basically I cast fuck you on this island in particular as a point to like I will start casting fuck you in particular on all of your capital cities and shit like that if you don't back off. Quit fucking around or you're gonna get me boot. Right up your ass. Right up your ass. Alright, meanwhile, let's check Dawn of War if it's finally listed a price for itself. It has, in fact, not listed a price for itself. I can't believe it has not listed a price. Yay, more war crimes. Well, again, how are you going to enforce law on a dragon, right? You have a creature that literally just showed you they can invert reality. How are you going to enforce the law on that dragon? Like, the fucking police show up to the cave, walk past all the Drachmolkine, all the Drakine that are there, and everything. And they just walk up to the Drakor and they're like, you're under arrest for crimes against humanity. Just like, huh. And you'd look great if I shuffled all the functions of all of your orifices in your face. Just, like, now fuck off. Okay. Anyways, in the meantime, chat, hope you guys take care. Have a fantastic day. Stay safe and healthy. Get fit, get ripped. I will see you back here tomorrow. We'll play some more. We'll play something. And yeah, we are going to. I need to put together a list. The one World of Darkness server wants a list of like what all is needed for a bond and a cairn and stuff like that. So that's what I'm going to do. And yeah, we'll go from there. Yeah. In the meantime, bye-bye, chat. I'll also try to figure out what movie we're watching. I might just say, let's watch a fun movie. Let's watch a good movie. Like, maybe Puss in Boots: The Last Wish, or maybe Dungeons & Dragons: Honor Amongst Thieves. Let's watch a good movie. Like, a really good movie. Right? I think that sounds fun. Let's break up things and let's watch a genuinely good film. Maybe Godzilla -1 again. Who knows? We'll think on it. We'll think on it. For now, bye-bye.